Easy watercolor painting. That's what I'm going to show you how to paint today. So let's get the brushes wet and let's get started. Now to begin with, grab some masking tape, and this is a very low tack masking tape by the way, and not too wide. And my tape is about 19mm across, so about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, make sure it's well and truly stuck down as well. Go around the entire edge of the paper. Now the size of the paper, by the way, which I'm using today, is 31 by 23 centimeters, so about 12 inches by 9 inches. Now take your time putting this on the paper as well. I'm trying to work out exactly where I want things to go. Now I got this idea from TikTok, believe it or not, and this is one by somebody called arts_help. So once you've got the tape on there, what I'm going to do is use my very fine surgical knife. I know, very, very fine and extremely sharp, but you can use any craft knife instead, that's not a problem. And the idea is I'm going to go across the bottom of the masking tape we've just put on there. Now this tape is nearly invisible, as you can see, so I'm trying to see it myself, never mind you seeing it. I know. Thinking about the perspective of the window as it disappears in towards the distance. Just a little bit, because obviously this window is open, isn't it? Once you've done that, draw a very, very light horizontal line. Try and keep it nice and level. Now my old masking tape roll, I'm going to draw on the inside of this very lightly using my mechanical pencil. This is a Faber-Castell mechanical pencil with a 0.5 size nib, and it's a 2H lead. So very lightly. Then grab some masking fluid, or in my case some drawing gum. The difference with this one for the PBO, it says latex free, so therefore it doesn't smell. There's no stink. It's not like the normal masking fluid which you normally tend to use. So it's quite nice actually to use, it really is. And actually when you peel this off, it comes off in small bits. Keeping tight inside the edge as well. Using a very old brush, because masking fluid, and this one as well, can sometimes damage those bristles. So make sure it's an old one that you're using. This is an old size 5 brush I've got. Now I've turned my paper upside down because I find it a bit easier to get the straight edge for that horizon line. Now the paints I'm going to use today is French ultramarine, cobalt violet, scarlet lake, and cadmium yellow hue. And I want the mixes more to probably a milky consistency, so not watery, the sort of consistency you get from a tap, but more milky, so slightly thicker than water. So I'm going to use my pipette and just drop a little bit of water in, try and loosen these paints up a little bit. I don't want them too strong, because it could make it really overpowering on that painting if it's too strong. Make sure that the masking fluid is dry, okay? And you find if it's normal masking fluid, like latex one, it will be slightly tacky, but with the PBO one, I find it's just basically dry. 1/4 inch mop brush, and also synthetic size 18 brush. Using the mop brush and clean water, make sure it's clean. Doesn't look that clean to me, but make sure it's clean. Make sure you go over the entire piece of paper twice. So firstly, I'll go over the paper with a thorough wetting and allow that water to soak into the paper. Grab some kitchen roll and have that ready as well. Then leave the water to soak into the paper probably for a couple of minutes. Then using the cadmium yellow hue, paint around the sun. I know we're supposed to be painting the sun cadmium yellow, aren't we? But bear with me on this, okay? Start off with this colour first of all. Then go into your French ultramarine. Okay, start from the top. We're going to work our way down the paper from here on. So French ultramarine, and you can see the masking tape just starting to show now. And the effect is going to be. Then the cobalt violet. Add that one on there. I can't say that today. Cobalt violet. I'm going to add a little bit more in that thing because it's not quite enough there. I want just a hint of this sort of purpley hue showing through. And that will show a little bit more when we get the red on there as well. Okay, go for the red. Here we go, Scarlet Lake. And I want this to be not quite as intense as you would think really. I don't want a really bright red. So mixing that in with the cobalt violet and the French ultramarine could give it more of a purpley hue as it all starts to dry. Allow it to mingle, allow it to kind of soak into one another as you apply it to the paper. Then taking my time and just add a little bit more colour as I work my way down. I want it more from a sort of yellow to an orange and to replicate what's above basically. If it's draining down the paper because my board is on a slight angle, just very lightly go over some of that before it starts to dry. If you see the shine going off the paper, which is starting towards the area just above the sun, don't go back there because if you do, you'll end up with tide marks or cauliflower marks. And you don't really want that in this case. You want more of a sort of gentle blend going on, don't you? So add the colours down below, thinking about how deep you want the colours to be. Okay, so the French ultramarine right at the very bottom again. So basically what we're doing is reflecting what's above. That's it. And that's straightforward, isn't it? Lift off any overruns that you can see on the paper, but very lightly. And I do that by taking most of the paint off the brush first, then very lightly lifting off those runs on the paper. Then using your folded up kitchen roll, this is why I've got this for you, use your kitchen roll to clean up the edges all the way around, but be very, very careful not to touch the wet paint on the paper. Only the paint, obviously, on the masking tape. And take your time. Lift it off. Keep changing that kitchen roll. Keep refolding it and get a fresh edge as you do so. And then once you've done all that, leave it to dry for a good half an hour to an hour. I wouldn't dry it with a hairdryer because sometimes hairdryer can harden that masking fluid. Now once it's dry, use the clean finger, remove the masking fluid. Now you may find little areas where the paint has gone through the masking fluid. We just missed it a little bit here and there, that's all. But don't worry about that, we can tidy that up once the masking fluid is off. In fact, sometimes what tends to happen with my masking fluid is that the paint will be really hard on the top of the masking fluid. And you think, hang on a minute, that's not paint after all. Underneath that paint, there's a little bit of masking fluid just showing as well. Then what you want to do is paint in that sun using our yellow paint. Yeah, I know. So put it on the paper, get a clean wet brush, and then start to move it around. As simple as that. Just be very careful when you go around the edge of this. Keep it nice and neat as you do so. And basically fill in the sun and give it a quick dry with a hairdryer from a distance. Okay, remember that. Okay, everything's nice and dry. So what I want to do now is lift some paint off. Now this particular brush, just out of interest, is one by Rosemary & Co. And they call it the Eradicator. And this is one of their small ones. So first thing to do is wet the Eradicator brush. And don't forget you can make your very own Eradicator brush as well. So what I'll do, I'll pop a little link to the top right hand corner for you. I've got a video just for you on how to make one. Now then, take most of the water off but not all of it. Then using horizontal strokes, don't do anything other than horizontal. And then very lightly touching the paper with this brush. Then using your kitchen roll, lift off that paint. And you can see already it's taking a little bit of paint off. See, fortunately with the colours that we're using today, they do lift fairly easily, which is quite beneficial really. Some colours, as we know within watercolour, don't lift that easy at all. So if you're not sure about the colours you're using, whether they lift or not, test them out on some scrap watercolour paper before you use them on your painting. At least then you'll know when you want to do the lifting off technique. Now vary the length of these lines as well, and also vary the thickness of the lines. I want some really thin, fine lines, and to get those thin, fine lines, because I keep washing that brush out, but make sure that you've got hardly any water on that brush, and that way you get some very, very fine marks. Concentrate these marks more towards the area below the sun, because obviously that's where the kind of light is going to be mostly, isn't it? The main shine from the sun. And then gradually work your way towards the left and the right hand side, but use fewer marks when you do so. You find these marks will stand out really well when you go into more darker areas. They do, don't they? They stand out extremely well. I'm also trying to put them in random places as well so they're not too even. That's the key. Don't make it too even. Don't make it too uniform when you're working with this. And once you get all that on the paper, then we need to think about making our dark colour. Right, okay, the dark colour, burnt sienna. This is actually quite a nice double mix because you know you could use red, blue and yellow, which you can do to make a nice black. But I wanted the black which is going to be rich in colour and also fairly warm as well. So using burnt sienna, that's a warm side. Because I know French ultramarine on its own, which is what I'm using, is actually quite cool, isn't it? Now for a size 00 brush. Yeah, I know, a size 20. Now this one is by Rosemary & Co. It's a series 315. And this has got really long bristles on this one, so it's not quite a rigger brush, but it's in between a rigger brush and the sort of brush I would normally use for adding detail to the paper. So lightly load it, don't overload it. And the first thing I want to do is paint a boat. A very basic looking sailboat. I know, that's it. So 2 triangles opposite to one another with a slight gap in between. That's all it consists of mostly. Yeah, I know. So very, very easy to paint. And you can fine tune it and fiddle with it as you go along. You really can. Don't forget to paint the actual boat itself in as well underneath. I know, you can't just have a pair of sails on there. And if you wanted to put more of these on the paper, you can do. Vary the size. And the smaller they go, the further in the distance they'll be. So bring them slightly higher on the horizon. Now once you've done that, I'm going to also add some birds in there. Because I'm a wildlife artist anyway, I need to have a little bit of life in there. So let's put some of those M birds, capital M, as Bob Ross used to call them, M birds. So I'm going to put 3 M birds in there. All right, not 2, but 3. I want 3 in there. And all different sizes and slightly different positions in the sky as well. And then finally, one thing I do want to paint is a tree. I know. I'm going to put a big tree from the bottom right-hand corner. I'm getting the Bob Ross way again, aren't I? Just make sure it's thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top. So paint it the way a tree would grow. Make sure that your lines get thinner as they go towards the top. And also think about how many branches you want on this. And I'm going to have quite a few branches on this, I think. I want all these branches to get slimmer as they go towards the top. And also vary in direction as well. Because I'm making this more of a silhouette painting, I don't need to think about shadows or the curvature of the tree. Because obviously you'd have to have one side lighter than the other to give it more of a three-dimensional feel. But you don't need that in this case. All I want to do is flick a few branches out here and there. Start from the thicker end first of all, then flick out as you go towards the outer branches of the tree. As you see what I'm doing here. And you know what? I'm going to put a branch or 2 through the sun. Why not? Let's just do it. Go on. This is where you've got to be really daring by doing that. The key really with this is not to overload that brush. Because if you do overload the brush, then therefore your lines will be far too thick. And because of that, they won't look quite as natural going through the sun or into the sky. Now I'm going to thin this paint down a bit actually, because I find it's a little bit too thick now. And I'm going to thin it down for those finer lines. Those really fine branches. You want this paint to flow. You don't want it to break up on the paper as you start applying these lines on there. And whatever tree you want to create is entirely up to you. If you want one with leaves on there, then go ahead. If you want more than one on there, go ahead. If you want one on either side so it kind of balances better, then do that as well. It's entirely up to you. Of course it is. If you want a rocky outcrop at the bottom, do that as well. If you want, I don't know, a wolf on a rock in a corner howling at the sun, no, that's not right, is it? But you could do that as well. Use your imagination and you try and work out what you want to paint for silhouette, this very easy watercolour seascape. So this is where you get to fiddle and fine tune and do as much as you want to get it just the way you want it to be. Take your time as well. There's no rush at this stage. You don't have to think about paint drying either. You really don't. So if you find flicks here and there, as much as you want it to be, then that'll be the paint inside just about finished. But don't worry, don't leave yet. We're still going to dry it, and then we're still going to remove that masking tape as well. Now, removing the masking tape is going to be done very, very carefully. So I'm going to use my surgical blade, I know, sharp, to gently pull the masking tape off. And you can see we've got a lovely kind of crisp white edge to it. Work your way around the painting, and very carefully, very slowly, remove that tape from the paper. Because even with me doing this, it has torn the paper in places, just a little bit here and there. You can't really tell on the camera, but it has made a little bit of mark here and there. And you can actually burnish that mark out with the back of a spoon or something like that. Don't forget to sign it, whether you use a pencil or, in my case, a waterproof pen. Now, if you fancy having a go at painting a mountainscape instead, have a look at the link to the top right-hand corner of the screen. I'll see you there.